Okay, got it.
I'm opening up the room. Yeah, of course. And I'll make sure they kind of drop that into the chat there, and I'll moderate that as we go. So welcome in, everybody. We'll give it a minute or so here as the room starts to fill up. Really going to be a great, exciting talk here. A lot of good stuff coming in from these great coaches here. So as everybody is starting to come in, room's really starting to fill up, loving it. As you're coming in, drop it into the chat. Let us know where you're coming from and, you know, what level are you coaching at? I know we've had a lot of youth coaches around. We've had some high school coaches, had some, even had some softball coaches coming in, some college softball coaches out. So that's really exciting as well. Let us know what's going on in the chat here, where you're coming from. We've got Wesley in Dallas. What's going on, Wes? Glad to have you. Tim, Ballard High School, welcome in. Todd, big Giants fan out in Saratoga. Welcome in, a high school coach over there. We've got Gene
Giants
coming
fan,
in.
let's go.
Yeah, baby. I've got head baseball coach at Cleveland JUCO in North Carolina. Nice. Wes is 10 and 11U. We've got, again, coaching at 14U. He really loves you guys, so he says big shout out to you guys. We've got Kelly here here in Frisco in the Dallas area at Lone Star High School. Zach coming in. We've got high school softball coaching out in Miami, Florida. Welcome in, Zach. David, we've got 9, 10, 11U coach and a high school assistant out in South Jersey. Welcome in. Loving this crowd. Got a great group, everybody. Looking, Jeff, we got a high school coach out in Texas, Mountain View High School in Mesa, Arizona with Greg. Welcome in, Jen. Hey, welcome back, Jen. NC State softball coach over there. Welcome in. So got a great mix in here. A lot of people dropping it in. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Kyle Pullins, and I'm really excited to bring a couple of mentors of mine in the game here and a couple of guys I love to learn from, Mr. Nate Trosky and Trent Mongero. Guys, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
So these guys,
thank you all the listeners too. Appreciate you guys for being here. We really appreciate you guys that are out there listening. Thank you for taking your time. We're honored and feel very privileged to have an opportunity to be a part of your journey. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, these guys are going to be breaking down some player development stuff while you're at home and in this shutdown and still be able to progress and get better. That's what it's all about right now with this clinic and making sure we're able to give back to everybody. So this is going to be a more interactive group as we go. So if you guys got questions as we're going along, please drop it into the chat and we'll have the coaches get to it. But they're going to be, you know, this guy, I had a nice little chat with Trent beforehand. He's like, man, me and Nate, you know, we're like two different sides of the coin. We both complement each other really well. And it's going to be a great conversation and a great tactical application of what you guys are doing over there. So Trent, I'm going to let you kind of lead things off here with this show right now.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd like to say something too. Trent, real quick, guys, get your questions in. We want to answer your questions. So we could just talk in any direction, but please send questions in. We really prefer to head in a direction what is interesting to you.
Absolutely. You know, watching everybody sign in, Kyle, looked like we had a, you know, pretty wide gamut of coaches that are with us. And the great thing about coaching is we're, you know, hopefully all in it for the same reasons. We got big hearts. We care. We want to make a difference. And how we make a difference is we have to learn to develop our players. We got to help them grow. There's a huge deficiency in our game, whether it's baseball, softball, at all levels. You know, Nate will tell you, you get into college, you get into pro ball, you're going to learn very little. You're going to basically learn from doing more than being taught. And, you know, when we're young, we tend to think, well, we'll just play. And then when we get to high school, college, if we're fortunate enough to get to college or professional, that's when we'll really learn how to play the game. False. It's really reversed, in my opinion. You know, Nate and I talk about this all the time. You really have to learn the game and learn your skills that allow you to play the game at a young age. And that's called development. There's a pattern, there's a plan. Of course, every player is different. We can get into the specifics because I can ramble for an hour just on this alone. So hopefully that's going to spur some questions. How do we go about developing our players? And, you know, if you want to mention your specific age group, sometimes that might impact our answer. But You know, Nate's not a know-it-all. I'm not a know-it-all. We're here learning just like you guys are. We bounce ideas off each other every day. So, you know, if you get a question, Kyle, please reach out to us.
We got a couple popping in the chat right now. We got Timothy Lee here asking, how do I help a kid who's so result-driven but not process-driven?
Go ahead, Nate.
Okay. Result-driven meaning, what does he mean? He wants to get a scholarship. What kind of result? I mean, there's quick results, there's process results, there's all kinds of results. So if he could be a little more specific, what does he mean? He wants to get a scholarship and he sits at home on the couch and does nothing?
Yeah, I would guess he's talking, Nate. I would guess he's talking about like results being that he's 3 for 3 in a game, and all he really cares about is the immediate success of the game, as opposed to the ultimate process of long-term success. That would be my guess, is what the guy might be hitting on.
So he just dropped in the chat. He said he's worried about hitting bombs. Every other at bat is not too good for him.
And how old is he? How old is the player?
He is a high school varsity player.
Okay, so everything goes back to what is your vision? What do you want? And you have to start forward and work backwards. So it's not just trying to like get in there and trying to fix him. It's like getting into his heart. You're not going to transform a player unless you get into his heart. We have all these ideas and we have all these phrases and you know, all these little teaches that we think that have value. But the problem is the person on the receiving end, which is the player, he's immature, he's young, he doesn't have a lot of experience. And like you said, he doesn't have great perspective. So how do we get him to have perspective? I call it AYY, above your years. The key for any player is to play and think above his years. That's how he separates himself. That's how he gives him an opportunity to reach his ceiling. So if he's acting his age, he's probably going to be like that, because most players at a young age focus on results. So what we need to do is we need to get to the heart of the player. That's developing players. That's teaching from the inside out. So instead of like giving him just a bunch of information, it's more about getting into his heart and saying, what motivates you and what do you really want from this game? And if he told me, because I would assume if he's a high school player, he probably wants to be scouted and recruited by pro scouts and college coaches. I'm assuming most active players are thinking that way. So you go, okay, so let's what does a college coach look for in a hitter? That's identifying what are the qualities that make up a great hitter. That's painting the picture. That's a puzzle. The puzzle is the picture. The problem is he doesn't know what the picture is supposed to look like, because he thinks that hitting bombs is the solution to the problem. That gets me my scholarship. Well, let me just tell you something. That is not what gets you what you want. College coaches, pro scouts are looking for this. So you start to motivate through his desire. What is his desire? What does he want? That's the end. And then we create a trail for him to align his life, the way he lives, the way he takes his batting practice, the way he prepares, the way he has an approach. And he starts to align. It's called alignment. And that's the process. So you teach him the process to get what he wants. Right now, he wants what he wants, but he doesn't realize there's a process. And to anything and everything, there's a process to succeed. And the secret is to learn and own that process. So the process that we're giving him, he doesn't own it because he doesn't believe in it. We have to paint the picture. This is what you want. Okay, this is what you have to do to get it. And this is the alignment. So each day you need to have preparation in your warm-ups. You need to have a game plan. You need to do this, do this, do this. So whatever you're teaching, and he starts to buy in. So it's getting him to buy in through what he wants. And right now he doesn't understand that what he wants is not going to get him what he wants. What he feels is important to him is not going to happen through his process, because his process isn't very good. So we need to paint a whole new picture for him and get to his heart and say, what's important to you, young man? And then we're going to paint a picture on how to achieve that.
I think Nate nailed it. I would say it like this: redefine success. You know, redefine success for the young man. In his mind, success is bombs. You know, to a college coach, a high school coach is making starting lineup out. You know, consistently hitting the ball hard is redefining success. And how do you consistently hit the ball hard? Nate just touched on it. It's your process. You got to fall in love with the process. If you want to consistently hit the ball hard, you have to prepare in a way to consistently hit the ball hard. There is no other way. So just getting in the games and hitting bombs and not having any value for process. So we're talking to the coach who completely probably understands this and the player doesn't. So simply redefine success. I'm a high school baseball coach, for 28 years. That's my job, is to help paint the picture that Nate described. So I'm redefining success. What is a successful at bat? That's a quality at bat. Okay. Hitting ball hard is part of a quality at bat. When you hit balls hard on a regular basis, guess what? If you're strong enough and you have enough power, you hit some home runs. Okay. And we devise an approach that's based around your strengths. Is he a home run potential hitting guy, or is he a singles hitter trying to hit home runs? So we've given a very long-winded answer that really all encompasses redefining what success is for this young man. And if he is thinking that's what college and pro scouts are looking for, if he doesn't believe you, then you need to bring somebody with, that he'll believe and listen to, maybe another pro player at college, top college player, and have him redefine success for him. So, yeah.
And I think something's really important on that topic real quick, because it covers everything we're thinking about and we're trying to accomplish as coaches. It goes back to, how do we motivate a player to do something that we feel is important? That's everything. Well, one, we need to get better, so the information that we're giving is actually valuable. That's extremely important. But getting to the heart of your players and understanding what is important to each individual, that's how you motivate a player. Second would be, like Trent said, find other people to teach. So for example, go on YouTube and listen to Mike Trout talk about his approach and how simple his approach is. Have other home run hitters in the big leagues, listen to them. I heard Mark McGuire last week. He's talking, I never try to hit a home run. I'm trying to hit a line drive through the pitcher's knees. You can get every home run hitter. Christian Yelich was talking yesterday, talking about how he swings down. He tries to swing down on the ball and trying to hit line drives. Home runs is nothing in his mindset. And he's one of the best players in the game. So you get people that he admires and he looks up to. Goes back to, what does he want? If he wants to be a professional, he needs to hear from the professionals, because the professionals don't teach what he believes. It's the absolute opposite. So that's the why, and that's being a master teacher. The master teacher just doesn't give information. He gets to the heart of the player and he finds other ways to motivate through people that he looks up to or he wants to be like.
So I don't want to keep going on this forever, Kyle, but you know what I do every year? I bring in Tim Hires. He's a good friend. He's the big league hitting coach for the Boston Red Sox. Like him, don't like the Red Sox, whatever. He was with the Dodgers. He's one of the best hitting guys in the world. So my high school guys, they hear me all the time. They hear me. Okay, you bring in Tim Hires, you bring in Steve Springer with quality at bats, and now you have other people echoing what I'm already saying, and it brings validity to what I'm saying. And some coaches need a little bit more validity. So, those are some of the ideas that we painted, and hopefully that helped the coach.
Yeah, they really enjoyed that one. They like the paint the picture piece, which is awesome. I really like Nate when talking the, acting above your years. That's a big one for a lot of these kids. We've got Kelly asking here, it's going to be a great one to transition to. How do you connect with your players? How do you become better communicators and be able to stay relevant with the younger people today? And she's at the high school level.
You want it first, Nate?
Go ahead,
All right, I'll take it.
You go ahead, bud.
To me, how you stay relevant is you stay up to date on information. So what do? I don't have this all figured out. Nobody does. So I surround myself with really, really smart people, and I ask a lot of questions. And secondly, I go to events like the American Baseball Coaches Association conference, and I listen to the best minds, and not only just the talks, but I go to the hot stove sessions. And I've been blessed to be on some of those, and we usually show up early or go afterwards to dinner, and we sit around and we talk baseball. And what you do is you grow. My philosophy and how I communicate, maybe it was easier when I was 24 years old and just out of professional baseball to relate, but I was not necessarily as good of a communicator as maybe I am now. I'm older. Okay, so I don't relate from an age standpoint, but, you know, they trust the fact that as a coach, I'm preparing myself and I surround myself with really good people and I have a good staff. You know, that's the next thing. You can't do this all by yourself. Okay. So I get it when you're at the youth level or the high school level, you may not have a huge staff, but if you can find one other, two other quality people that can drip on your players, you know, I could relate to Kyle, but not to Nate. Maybe the way I communicate, my verbiage, whatever, relates to Kyle, not to Nate. But if I have a quality assistant who's on the same page as me, maybe he relates to Nate. You know what I mean? And ultimately, this is a huge point to the guys that are on there. The whole message I'm trying to convey to my players is they have to become their own best coach. They have to become their own best coach. Okay. As you grow in this game, they have to absorb, they have to learn. The game speaks to them when they're working in the cage, when they're taking ground balls, when they're applying everything that they're being taught. And you start to figure things out. And ultimately, as you grow in the game, Nate will tell you, he was a college coach. I played Division I baseball. We both played collegiately, professionally. You're not going to go up to your coach once a game, every at bat, hey, what did I do wrong? You know, coach, can you tell me what I did wrong on that? You know, no, you have to become your own best coach. So I provide knowledge, I provide feedback, and then ultimately we teach. And when somebody's in my program for 4 or 5 years, because we get 8th graders, you know, they're hearing from different coaches, they're hearing from me, they're being taught every year. I'm bringing in people from the outside, and they're just being dripped on in all these different ways with knowledge that is consistent with what I want them to hear. That may sound complicated. It's really not. And, you know, if you have the desire to make a difference, you'll make those connections and you'll bring them in. I mean, I'm going to be on 2 Zoom calls tomorrow with 13-year-old teams. They just reached out and said, hey, would you be on there with my team? There's 13 players. I don't care. But that's a great example of reaching out and having somebody come in. I'm sure I'm going to echo a lot of what that coach is trying to get their players to understand. So Nate, passing over to you.
If I ask the audience, and I'd like to ask you guys this question, what is the number one, and I don't know if you can just say there's one, but I feel there is. What is the number one quality of any successful coach at any level, regardless of their age? So I'm a first-year coach. I'm 26 years old. Trent's been coaching for 28 years. You take another guy that's been coaching for 40. One guy's an assistant. One guy doesn't even have a cell phone. One guy knows nothing about social media. What is one quality? The one quality that all great coaches have, and they're concerned. I'm talking great coaches. What do they have? And it is not your ability to relate to the audience. It's not my ability to understand social media, know how to text message and understand who's the top movie stars and being like connecting with them in those matters. Because that stuff doesn't really matter. That's all fluff. Do we have any care? He says care. So we got care. We have passion. Okay. Effective and positive
with players
to motivate. So we have all this information coming in. But how often all this information that we're giving us, a lot of it's cliche. A lot of it's just empty words. Yeah, I love your players, care for them. I mean, that's great if you do, but let me tell you, when we get to the park, how many of us make that a priority? For most, that's not the priority. The priority is X's and O's, and we need to accomplish this to win. Jerry Manuel is a good friend of mine. He was a World Series winner, head coach. I won the World Series in the big leagues years ago, and I spent some time with him. And over the last 15 years, I started to redefine really what my focus needs to be. We call it the main thing. The main thing is to keep the main thing, and that's the main thing. The problem is most people don't ever know what the main thing is. And when you retire as a coach, you start going, wow, man, I'm starting to figure it out. Well, it's too late. Be above your years. We want the young coach. We want the middle-aged coach. We want the older coach. We want every coach to be powerful and effective. So how do you do it? Jerry Manuel, very simple. He said, Nate, X's and O's do not get to the heart of a player. They do not get to the heart of a player. The way you get to the heart of a player is through unconditional love. It's the love we learn in the Bible. It's unconditional. It's grace-based. And if you love your players from the bottom of your heart, if you love your players more than winning, if you love your players more than you love any component of the game, you know what happens? You will connect with every single player, because every player longs to be loved and accepted more than anything, more than being all league, more than getting a scholarship. So it begins with the foundation. You can have all the information you want. You can go to every convention. You can continually to pound it. But if you don't have the genuine love for your, and we're talking genuine, you genuinely care, we must start there. And if you don't have that right now, you say, you know what, I kind of love my players, but I really like to go hang out and mow the grass and hit ground balls. That's what I really like. Well, that's cool too, but you better get to the foundation, which is love. And that will transform any player at any age. And it happens in the big leagues. The big league managers that win, teach very little, very little. They don't teach in the big leagues anyways. What happens is they connect. They talk to their players. Valentine, Bobby Valentine? Bobby Valentine's thing was this. He said 35 players. No, what do you got on a roster? We got 20. College roster, Division I roster is 35. He was 25 players in 8 days. Okay. His goal every 8 days was to cycle through his 25 players before the game, after the game, during the game, and to just go up to them and say, how you doing, buddy? We're so glad that you're here. Man, tell me about your wife. How's she doing? Caring about the individual and pursuing the individual. And after 8 days, he'd start over again. And the winning managers, the Terry Franconas, the Dusty Bakers, the Jerry Manuels, they love the individual, and that's priority over winning X's and O's or anything. So that's where it begins. And you'll connect with any player at any age.
I would say that I just saw the question come through, you know, how do you show love? Well, to me, love equals time to a degree. Like, you know, if you're spending time with somebody, genuine time to help them before practice, during practice, instead of yelling and screaming, being Johnny Testosterone, Mr. Boss Man, show some compassion. Okay, one of the hardest lessons I've ever learned as a player, when I was a freshman in college, I was at a Division II national championship program, and I never knew how to play second base. I never learned how to turn a pivot, and nobody ever taught me, nobody, including my college coach, but yet he expected me to do it. And when I couldn't do it, and I never played second base, he chewed me out and embarrassed me in front of the team. That set me back, set me so far back. If he would have just recognized, I mean, all right, Mongero, you've never done this before. Let's teach you. Let's spend a few minutes after practice. You're a Division II caliber middle infielder at the time. You're going to pick this up pretty quickly. Let me go spend some time and teach you. What would that do for I would ran through a wall for that. Instead, I like built animosity up against the guy. I hate, you know, I literally hate to use the word hate, but I don't hate him anymore. But at the time, I mean, it set me back. And we have to understand as coaches, there's a lot of youth coaches on here, that you can never expect your players to do in a practice or a game what you've never taught them. It's as simple as that. But I see people all the time chewing people out, you know, for things that they've never taught them. And until I teach them, I don't expect them to know it. So it goes back to love, to me, equals time. If you love somebody, you're going to want to spend time with them, just like your spouse. If you don't love them, you're going to do everything you know, you're just going to go through the checkpoints and then you're gone. So I guess we can move on to the next question, but that was, to me, that.
No, I'd like to say something because it's very important on what you're talking about. You're asking specifically, how do you actually love a player? Well, Trent answered one of it, was time. What I would add to that is this: you have to pursue the individual. The individual needs to be pursued. If I have 35, and I actually told you the whole answer, but what did Bobby Valentine do? 25 players in 8 days. He's pursuing the individual. What does Dusty Baker do greater than maybe any manager? Terry Francona. What do? They pursue the individual. They talk nothing about baseball. They talk about the individual. They know the individual's name. They know the hobbies. They know what the player likes. The player shows up and you pursue the individual. How you doing, Tommy? Did you ride your motorcycle this week? I know you love riding that motorcycle, man. Cool. Good to have you here. You pursue them and you appreciate them, and then you value them. That shows love. Then you have boundaries and you're firm within those boundaries. If you're not firm, if you let people walk all over, you have to have the checkpoints and you have to be firm and consistent, because that's where love is felt. But you must pursue the individual regularly. Remember their name, remember what they like, pursue them. How are you doing? And I'm glad that you're here. And if you're not really glad that they're here, they'll know that too, because they can feel you. They literally can feel everything. Your words are empty unless they can feel it from your heart.
Awesome stuff, guys. We've got Agim Salmani asking about philosophy on pre-pitch movement and drills to develop players. He's a 14U coach.
Go, Nate.
Okay.
Pre-pitch and drills.
So I was in the area. So 3 years ago, I spoke at the ABCA, and my talk was one. I was trying to decide what I'm going to talk on, because if you think about it, there's thousands of topics. So this gentleman, this coach, just gave us a topic, right? Pre-pitch movement. So I'm sitting in the dugout during the area code games. And the area code games, if you don't know, it's the best players in the country. It's all the guys that are going in the draft. So it's 250 of the best players selected by Major League Baseball. There's a lot of players that do not get selected. They get drafted and end up playing in the big league. So I'm not saying if you didn't play in the area codes, you're not a nobody. But we do our best to pick the 250 top prospects to get drafted out of high school. And I'm sitting in the dugout with our team, which is the best team in the world, literally. The Milwaukee Brewers area code team. There's no team better. We're the best team year in and year out. And when we have first rounder, I think we've had the first pick first round in the last 4, I think out of the last 7 years. We've had 70 major leaguers in 7 years. So 70 major leaguers on my team in 7 years. Christian Yelich was one, Nolan Arenado. This is a special group. And I'm sitting in the dugout, and these 250 players, we play for a week in front of 500 major league scouts, and the scouts, including myself, were in the dugout. And I'm with a major league shortstop. I'm with other scouts that play AAA, College World Series guys. And I'm asking them, I say, what do I talk about? I go, I'm talking in 6 months. And they're just sitting there going, the big league shortstop, the AAA, guy, and they're scouts now. And they're like, man, why don't you talk on pre-pitch movement? So I spent, and I'm not exaggerating, I spent 1 year focusing on the mindset, the attitude, the whys, and then also the physical component of pre-pitch movement, the value of it. One, everything is about the why. If I truly understand the why, you know what happens? It transforms me as an individual versus coach giving me empty words that have no value, because I need to play above my ears. See, my coach gets it. He's 40. I don't get it. If you watch a player, so we're watching the area codes for 1 week, and I watched, there was 28, I think it was 28 or 36 infielders. You think about it, there's 8 teams, I watched every single infielder, and I filmed the majority of all of them. And the whole week there, these are the best players in the country, arguably in the world. There was only 2 guys that were on time and that repeated their pre-pitch. I'm not exaggerating. In a powerful on-time launch position. Hunter Green was number 1. He was a first-round second pick, signed for $7.3 million. And every time you watched Hunter, he was on time in balance. He was balanced in a launch position, like he was ready to steal a base, expecting to get a great first step, ready. So the pre-pitch is one of the least taught. And even when it's taught, players don't buy in. They're not bought in, because you know why? It takes focus, and it takes someone with tremendous heart to be able to be on time with intent for over 100 pitches in a game. The average major league game is 140 pitches. So one, we have to teach them why. So when I'm teaching my players, instead of saying, this is what you do, that's the what to do, I want to give you the why to do first. And if the why to do is not convincing, I'll guarantee you, when you watch your players, you'll notice they'll take over half the game off. They will not be in time in a powerful launch position, ready to make a great play. So the why. So what is the why? And before I get to the why, really quick, I've only seen one player in my life, one, and I'm not exaggerating, over 35 years of coaching, never take a pitch off, and that's my nephew. And I'll just tell you the process that I use with him. And I'm not exaggerating. My other nephew, he takes pitches off. I'm just honest. I'm just objective. I've never seen him, and I've seen him in 100 games. And that's one reason why I got a scholarship to Oregon State University. When he was in 9th grade, Pat Bailey came out and he watched him for 1 inning. He watched him set up for 15 pitches. And he said, that is another level. So let me just tell you what we do. One, we talk about the importance of tenths of seconds and inches. See, the difference between making plays and not making plays is an in-between hop becoming a short hop or a long hop. If you can move your feet and adjust within 1/10 of a second, or fighting for that inch, making that in-between hop a short hop, what happens is you make plays, and you make difficult plays routine, and that's what the masters do. But if you're not precisely on time, if you're 1/10 of a second late, 1/10 of a second, 1/10, you know what happens to that in-between hop? It stays in between. So what happens is if you get one in-between hop out of 50 plays, you're gonna miss it. If you get 5 in-between hops out of 50 plays, there's a really good chance you might miss 3, 4, 5 out of 5. So they start to understand that there is a reason. The in-between hop, I do not want. I want the 2-inch hop. And I'm fighting for a great first step so that I can pick my 2-inch hop. And it all stems from BOT, be on time, acronym BOT, be on time. IDTPO is I don't take pitches off, and I'm on time, 1 pitch at a time. Because if I'm not, you know what happens? That in-between hop remains in between. And the last point on the why is this. It's very simple. When the ball is squared up 100 miles an hour, if you can square a ball up, which professionals do, high school players do, college players do. So little leaguers, maybe when they're squaring them up, they're going maybe 75, maybe 80. The ball will travel between 80 and 100 feet at 100 miles an hour in half a second. Half a second, the ball travels 100 feet. So think about it. The guy hits it 50 miles an hour. How far is the ball going to travel? The ball travels so fast, it's ridiculous. So if you're 1/10 of a second late. So we start getting him to buy in. And then we practice. Part of our pre-practice plan every day and pre-game plan, we work a drill to be on time. And we only do it for about 5, maybe 10 reps. It's very simple, but it's reminding, it's creating memory. It's creating memory so that the player remembers who their identity is. I am a grinder. I don't take pitches off. I fight for 10ths of seconds. I fight for inches. And then we actually practice it. We practice it for anywhere from 5 to 10 reps before the game. So what happens is they're focused on the main thing. And the main thing is to be on time and not to take pitches off. So that's where it really begins. And we have some really simple drills. You know what I'll do is maybe I'll tweet one out in the next week where we can give you a very simple drill. And it's the best drill I've seen. I picked it up about 20 years ago from my buddy who played for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He said, Nate, this is what we're doing in spring training. And then what I do is I took the drill, what I love to do, and I like to advance them and change them and be creative. And it's an all-time drill, and you can do it so fast and it's so simple. But we have some on Twitter actually. Anyways, if you just scroll.
Explain the drill, Nate. Explain the drill.
Basically, what you do is you hold the ball. You hold the ball in your hand. You flip it up. When you catch it, they have to land on time. So pitcher has a different delivery. Guys have quick deliveries, right? Some guys are, I got a lemon here. Okay, so we have this lemon. Okay, this guy's a quick pitcher. He's a glide stepper. Okay, this guy takes about 1.5 seconds to get to the plate. This guy's about a 1-1, right? So you have different heights of leg kick. This represents the leg kick. Okay, so what happens is the defender has to be on time with the timing of the pitcher. So we practice different tempos of pitchers. You have to know who's on time. When the knee elevates down, when it drops, when it descends, right when it descends is actually perfect timing for almost every pitcher unless he's extremely fast to the plate. And you work on your timing. Actually, we have like, Trent, you have it in the lockdown.
Yeah.
You have so we have it all over. If you just scroll down to it, I got like 3 different examples of it. And you work on being on time. And we started with actually clapping. So when I throw the ball, they have to clap. They have to clap. So they learn, because what you'll see is guys will literally, guys, girls, whoever it is, they'll clap either a hair late or a hair early. Rarely. And you go, that's pitch number 1. That's pitch number 5. And you literally, and I do it. I do this drill. We practice for an inning. So we do 15. So the average inning is not 15 pitches. It's about 20, but we're trying to get through that inning between what? 12, 15 pitches. That's a great inning, right? So we're going to say, hey, we're going a 15-pitch inning and I have all my infielders out there and I throw it up 1 and I throw it up 2 and they just practice their pre-pitch over and over and over. I say, that's inning number 1. Now listen to me. Okay. The next inning is going to be 30 pitches. The next inning's 7 pitches. The next inning's 50 pitches. You got all this variation, and grinders don't take pitches off, and we're practicing being on time and not taking pitches off. And there's many different variations I add to it, from first steps to moving to communicating situations. But if you don't practice it, it's nothing but empty words that will never sink in and change the way a player plays. And that's what master coaching is. So we need to be master coaches versus just giving information and saying it or doing it for one time or doing it in spring training. It's little increments before the game. Have like a series of things that you do. You got a 12-minute window. I could do 15 different exercises literally in 12 minutes. Boom, boom, breathe right now, breathe. Give me one deep breath, clear your mind and say, I'm the best fielder and I'm going to get you out. Boom. Now they get their minds right. They clear. Then we work on being on time. Then we work on hard crossovers left, crossover, whatever the routine is. And that's something as obviously coaches you need to work on. Trent and I have been doing this forever, and we've been paying attention to the best, and we've been paying attention to the best players and watching and seeing how to put together a formula. And basically, I don't know if Trent wants to talk about the lockdown, but it has a lot of this stuff in it.
So if I'm a coach and I'm hearing Nate for the first time, a couple things would go through my mind. Like before Nate gave the analogy and the example of clapping, you know, as he catches the lemon, being on time, if we took a poll, there's no telling how many people would even know or could define what being on time is. Like, what are we talking about? Being on time to what? You know? And so what I would do is this, like a lot of people don't have confidence. A lot of coaches, they don't have confidence in their ability to teach. Like all this stuff makes sense when they're hearing it. But when they go out onto the field and they have a whole practice to cover and now they're trying to get this conveyed and practice it, it just seems to all fall apart. So what I would do is I would take what Nate just said and that little segment, and I would show it on my iPad to the team. I'd have them sit down and go, this is what it means to be, and then we start practicing it every day as part of our warm-up. And you can change it. You can throw the ball up and they have to be on time for when it lands on the ground. And sometimes you throw it higher, sometimes you could change it. Just keep changing the variables to change them, to challenge them to be on time. Because it's the core foundation to being an elite infielder. And so our blue collar lockdown, okay, the vast majority of everything we've discussed, most importantly, practicing it, not just talking about it, but practicing it. And we do it at camps. And when I got with Nate at camps, I'll say this is when I really so talking about learning from somebody else. So I've done camps, elite infield camps my whole life. Okay. The sixth tool, the mental part of the game, you know, hardest thing in the world to teach. You can talk about it all day, empty words. Nate is the master of application of the mental game, okay? And part of what he just talked about was the mental game. Deep breath, clear your mind, intent. I'm going to make plays, okay? I am the best. I'm going to get you out, period. You know the scenario of the game, and you zone in and you commit to 120 pitches or however many pitches there is in a game. Why can't more people do that? It's like, but hardly anybody can. Like literally hardly anybody can. And I've been caught myself. Like the balls hit at me and I was daydreaming, okay? And I took pride in being a rat and a bulldog, you know, as a player. But, you know, it's a skill. And how do you acquire skill? Practice. So unbelievable, Nate. Really great examples. And like, you know, this is not hard stuff, but you got to take the time, right? You got to make it a priority and you got to work on it. Otherwise, you can't just do it once or twice. It's not going to last.
Right. And tell them just quickly about the lockdown, Trent, because Trent assembled all these pieces. There's what we're offering to help you guys on your journey for your players first and foremost right now.
Yeah,
this is a program that should be, go ahead and tell them what it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, like, so here's the deal, you know, we're in this together. We have a virus going on. Agree with it, don't agree with it. The fact is we're all on lockdown. Players want to get better. I got high school players that want to be ready for the summer, if there is a summer, that want to be ready for next year, you know, when there's a next year. They want to get better. They have goals. They have intent. Well, how do you work? How do you work? And what do you do? Like, everybody's used to having practices defined for them. They show up. The coach says, here's what we're doing from 3 o'clock to 3:20, on and on and on, okay? And they never have to think for themselves. They don't have to create their own plan. Well, in order to get better, okay, even when you're not on a lockdown, you have to go above and beyond what you're doing at practice. And if you don't have a plan, you're just going to be haphazardly, going through space and time, hoping to achieve what your goals are. There is no hope. You set the plan in motion, you know what's important. So what we did, and what I did with Nate's help, and we did this together, was we created a plan for the players that they could do literally at their house without equipment, without a coach, without a field, without a ball, without a bat in many cases. And it's effective, it's practical, it's literally going to change you as a player. And we made it extremely affordable. I mean, we took a lot of time to do this. Why? Here's why. I coach players and I love them and they need to get better. So I'm going to help them devise a plan. I know that they can't do it on their own. 2, I have a son who's a Division I shortstop. He makes his own plans these days, but I needed to give him some guidance. Okay. And 3, I have a lot of people that, we like to try to help. And normally we give most of our stuff away for free, but, we're all in this boat together. We got to get better. So we looked at a week, what has to get done, what can happen in a day. We created the video or used old video. It's blue collar, nothing fancy. It works. It's real. We created the video that goes with each element that you're working on that day so that you can literally see. A lot of guys are visual learners. We can't just tell them what to do in steps. We got to show them what to do that matches what we wrote down. And then we just created this package. And we've had unbelievable feedback, because it's real and it works. And, that's what people want anytime, whether they're on lockdown or not. And Nate, you could add any more if you want. I don't want to go on a big sales pitch. I just want, you talk about development, that's what I'm trying. I mean, I gave it to my players, I created it.
Right.
I didn't charge them a penny, gave it to them for free. But anyhow, I know we got a lot we want to cover. So
just really quickly, it's extremely reasonable and it covers everything from upper body strength, lower body strength, throwing, fielding, flex. It covers everything. Hitting, dry swings, everything you can imagine, it's in there. It covers everything, and that's the whole goal. So if you want, and it's so cheap, troskyranch.com. We'll talk about it more at the end, but check it out. One point I just want to say, the last thing, Kyle, when we're talking about having a plan, I go to the field every single day, and in the off season, the college guys are at home or they have a vacation. This is the typical view of what you see a college player do. The college player is not above his years. Tabor is. He's a whole nother level. He's writing his program. He's executing it like literally like a major league player. That's like a half of a 1%. This is the average in the norm in college baseball. They come home, they'll go to the park, they'll play catch at about 60 feet, and they'll talk with their buddy who's also playing college. Then they'll go sit on the couch, sit on the bench and hang out and check out their phones. So they didn't challenge their arms at all. Okay, then they go hang out, talk in the dugout, check out some Twitter, whatever. Then they'll go take some lazy ground balls. Then they'll go in the cage and hit the tee and just talk for like an hour. And then they'll leave. And they didn't even maintain, they got worse. And that is a very typical view. I've seen it for 20 years and I see it every single time, every time. No plan, no intent, no focus, no development, no idea, no shot, no shot. You got no shot. You got no shot. So here's an acronym for you. We're going to drop 2 on you. FIO is figure it out. AYY is above your years. YGNC is you got no shot. Those guys have no shot. No shot. And I'm not trying to like be tough. I'm just trying to be real. You got no shot. You better figure it out right now. And if you don't have a great process, you have no shot, because the great players have a great process. Michael Jordan was great, not because he's talented. It's because he had an unbelievable process, an unbelievable intent. With talent makes the greatest player to ever live. You don't have to have great talent to have great intent and a great process, but no one has it. Watch them show up. They don't do it, and they're waiting for their coach, and they do it at college too. They sit there and wait for college coach to tell them what to do. There's a handful of guys, and usually the guys that are working hard are not very good. Just pay attention. The guys that are scrubs, and then you have this elite guy, the elite of elite, and that guy works harder than everybody. The process.
That's gold right there. That'll just change the game for. It's just going to raise the entire level of the status quo there for the baseball world. So I really love that stuff, guys. We've got Brian LaSalle asking, "What's the best way to develop light feet so movements look easy and effortless?"
Get the lockdown. The lockdown has everything in there. There's a whole routine for your feet. There's jump rope routines. There's quick feet routines you could literally do in your bathroom. And that's the whole idea. Get better wherever you are. You don't have to go anywhere except right in your bedroom. And a lot of the stuff that we make up is based around the house or in your room. So quick feet drills, it's all in the lockdown. There's a whole routine for every day. Give you a routine. Ladder work, jump rope, quick feet drills. It's all right there. Check it out, the lockdown. Check out our Twitter feed. We have a bunch of the stuff on there as well. Light feet is a product of jumping. Jump, 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 jump. Ladder is good, but it's not jumping. Jumping, when you jump, your heels are elevated and they remain elevated. They're elevated the whole time. The ladder work at times is choppy, quick, hard, and the guys have to learn not to try to move so fast on the ladder so that their feet become light and suave, not quick and rigid. We're not hammering nails. This isn't a jackhammer. And that's what you see when guys are doing ladder work, jackhammer time. So you can break down the ladder into, okay, these are focused on developing quicker feet. So move at the fastest rate you can. And then these are more for smooth. And then you can combine the quick and smooth. But most guys think quick, like the jackhammer. That's not an infielder that's going to get anybody's attention. Okay. We're looking for loose, light, free, easy feet that move with little effort. So yes, the jump rope is gold. Just jumping, gold. Jump 100 times and touch a wall. Try to do it. It's really hard. Just jump. Just jump. Touch the wall. Then you start incorporating a medicine ball. Then you get your jump ropes in. There's so much you can do, but jumping is gold.
Am I back in? Am I in, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You
I
are,
got
yeah.
kicked off and came back. Can I say, like, I didn't hear the whole thing, but I heard the jumping rope. Logic told me when I was a player, and that jumping rope would be critical for me, learning how to control my feet and in coordination with my hands. And I literally jumped rope 5 minutes a day, not straight. It was like segments, 30-minute segments of all different footwork variations and speeds to create quiet, confident, smooth, where my head was still and my eyes were still. So absolutely a huge, huge fan of the jump rope. And, there are things that really help people. I mean, Nate has really convinced me that there is some magic drills out there. This, the wall ball stuff, I think really has huge bang for its buck. But, most people, they're looking for like this pie in the sky type solution to getting better when, like, literally if just jumping on your toes, like he was showing, doing footwork drills, without a jump rope, act like you have a jump rope. That's part of our blue collar, lockdown is you don't have a jump rope, but we're going to do jump rope. So, I just want to encourage the coaches and people listening, you don't have to have all this stuff, to literally improve your game exponentially. So love the jump rope.
Take a look at our last Twitter feed that I shot out 2 days ago, and it shows a player on there doing handwork drills, and he's doing like 6 different variations. And let me just tell you, just to do one of those at a half of the speed that he's going at will be very difficult for any player, even a professional. It's very difficult. The only reason why he has arguably the best exchange I've ever seen in my life, I worked with over 20 first rounders in the infield. The best exchange, I'm not saying he's the biggest, fastest, strong. I'm just saying his exchange. The reason is because he challenges his hands. And he doesn't do the wall ball for like once a week and it's fun. He does it because it's fun, but he does it because the exercise is unbelievable value. And he continues it. Most players will jump rope for a week, a month, or 2 months. We're talking 365 days in the year, 12 months. How many days did you jump rope? And what happens if you're not consistent and then you don't push your number? So if you sit, so both my nephews, we train every day, and they both jump rope every day. That's the beginning of their warm-up, and they jump rope for about 4 minutes, okay? And I told the other one recently, I said, nothing changes if nothing changes. Do you want to throw harder? Do you want to get quicker? Do you want to be more explosive? You can't continue to do 400 for 4 minutes like you've been doing for the last 6 months. You know why? Because you're maintaining. You want to throw harder. You want to get better. You want to separate yourself. You can't maintain. You go 400. Now next week you're going 500. And then the next month you're going 600. And you're going to be able to do 600 in the same amount of time you did 400 because you're pushing yourself. You're pushing the limit. And that's that's hard to find. The guy to even do jump rope daily for a long period of time, and then he's challenging himself. That's where you start seeing gains. And like Trent said, it's not like this crazy exercise where I have to have 27 ladder drills. Just get your kid to jump rope every day, 5 days a week, and start challenging him. And he will get so much better so fast, and he will move like you wouldn't even believe in 6 months. Just in 2 weeks, he'll move differently. A friend of mine played with Omar Vizquel, and Omar Vizquel said this. He said, JJ was a AAA shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. He said, JJ, when Omar was with the Indians, he said, you want to be a big leaguer? JJ was the most talented athlete in the whole organization, from tools to body. And he never made the big leagues. And this is what Omar said. He says, you need to jump rope every day. That was the one nugget he gave him. This is the greatest shortstop maybe in the history of the game. Okay. 996 fielding percentage. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
It's crazy.
It doesn't even make sense. I mean, you can't even fathom. The guy made like one era season. I mean, it's ridiculous. And his advice, JJ, jump rope. And we were jumping rope 10, 15 years before that, but it just confirmed that the greatest, man, thank you, Omar. Now we're teaching from Omar's perspective and not Dad's. Dad's saying jump rope. The kid's saying, I don't buy it, Dad. Jump rope's like 1942, Pops. You jump rope. I'm not jumping rope. I want something cutting edge. And let me tell you something. The jump rope is cutting edge. You know why? Because it works.
That's awesome stuff right there, guys. And I definitely want to keep this about you, but just one thing I hear and see a lot is so many of these kids are using slang, and there's a lot of just open-ended, words. There's not a lot of literality in the way that kids are talking and things like that. So I think when you're saying, literally every single day, 365 days a year, the more kids can be literal when they're hearing these terms and these phrases, can really start to make an impact, because they'll hear it and seeing, oh, okay, well, 3-4 days a week, that's every day. But the more you can be literal with this kind of stuff, especially as a coach talking to these kids, can make an impact for them and to treat them that way.
Can I add to that? Because one thing I want the young coaches to be careful of, and if their dads or their moms or whatever, is forcing your children. So Nate said 365 jump rope. So if I'm a literal guy, I'm going, all right, I'm going to make my kid jump rope for 5 minutes a day, and I'm going to sit there and count, and I'm going to, chew him out if he doesn't do it. And, that's not going to work. You have to find a way to motivate, and sometimes you got to let the child grow into that. Okay, there are young players who are like rats, and they've been, there's a small percentage that are literally they're just gonna go nuts and do everything, their whole lives. But some of the best players that I know, if you just kind of lead a horse to water over time. Okay, you let them hear Nate talk about that. I'm a fifth grader, and I just heard Nate talk about who's Omar Vizquel anyways, is what they're going to say, like, who is this guy, and what does it matter? But, over time, they hear nuggets. So, all right, I'm very, very blessed, okay? My best friend's a big league hitting coach for the Red Sox. Another best friend's a big league pitching coach for the Oakland A's. Nate and I hang out. Steve Springer's a good friend of mine, okay? So what? So what? It doesn't mean anything. But here's what it does. Like, if I'm a coach, I'm going to find somebody in my area, and that knows what they're talking about besides me, and I'm going to let my child or my team listen to them. Okay? They're going to listen to them. So when Nate and I are talking, he's on speakerphone in my car, and Tabor, my son, who's a Division I shortstop at the time, he's hearing Nate Trosky talk about these things. It's not Dad talking about them. He hears Tim Hires talking about certain hitting things. It's not dad talking about it. Okay. And then over time, it's like he starts to embrace and mold and grow. And I'm just encouraging, not berating, you know, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You heard him say 5 minutes a day, you got to jump rope. You haven't done it yet. You don't want it. You know, that is not a motivator for most kids. Okay. And it's hard. It's really hard because as a parent, you know, you might be tired, come home from work, blah, blah, blah. Coach, you didn't do it, blah, blah, you know, but no. Okay. Encourage, let them hear, educate. Okay. If they do a little, you know, they get rewarded for doing, you know, and then over time you build it up. So I just wanted to be careful because Nate's right. He's 100% right. Okay. But every player can't be like, just because Nate said they're not going to, you know, doesn't mean a 8-year-old is going to jump rope for 5 minutes a day for, you know, every day of the year. They might not be ready for that. So I just wanted to make that point.
Definitely. Well,
Can
I
I make a point on that?
Yes, sir.
Can I make one point on that? Very, very simple point. How do we get the young player to want to jump rope? How do we get the older player to jump rope? That's the question, right? How do we motivate them? And master teachers, effective teachers know how to do that. Well, a lot of us don't know how to do that. I've been seeking to learn how to do that for the last 30 years because I want players to utilize and do what I think is important so we can help them. So that's been my journey for the last 30 years. So one of the pieces I'll just give you, very simple. You talk to them about what's important to them. That's the picture. What's important to you, Johnny? You're 10 years old. Billy, what's important to you? You're 18 years old. Dad, I want to go in the top 5 rounds. Dad, I want to play at North Carolina. The little 10-year-old says, Dad, I want to make this travel team. It's all about a vision. That's the number one key. So once you identify what's important to them, Dad, I just want to play shortstop. And right now there's 2 other shortstops on the team. So what you do is you paint the picture. You let them paint the picture. You encourage them. Once they paint the picture and they say, Dad, this is important to me. It's not me trying to say this is important for you. Once the player identifies it, and something is important to every single player, and you say, let's create the map. We call it navigation. Great players have navigation, and navigation isn't just saying, I'll jump rope this week. No, it's very specific. But you don't create the plan for your 10-year-old or your 8-year-old or your 15-year-old. You say, hey, guys, let's talk about it. Okay, so you want to get this goal. What is it going to take? 5 characteristics of a good infielder is good feet, arm strength. I'm just going to throw a couple random ones out there. Okay, so you say, okay, so how are we going to develop your feet? And the kid's going to go, well, I want you to think about it. And he's going to go, interesting, I'm not sure. Well, then you have a little video of Omar Vizquel. You click on YouTube and he says, guys, you got to jump rope. Or you tell them a story. Or you just tell them because you believe it. Hey, jumping rope is one of the most important components to developing your feet. And the kid's like, really, Dad? And you're like, yeah, really. So what do you think about your plan? So if we want to, let's start easy. Let's go 3 days a week. And we're going to start jumping rope 3 days. And I'll jump rope with you. Or let's turn on a YouTube video and let's watch the Carlos Correa or something, some like documentary. And so he's getting excited. He's going to watch a little bit and he's jumping rope. You're being creative and you're getting him to self-motivate through what's important for him. You paint the picture of navigation. What will it take to get what you want? And that is the navigation. And you have to align. So he starts to learn and he's learning about life. He's learning about accomplishing. He's learning about setting goals. He's learning about having a vision. And you wonder why, when you have a kid who's 15 years old, why is he so far above his years? It's because of all the development you did. And that's why he is where he is. Just because. No, it's because you developed him. And it's a process. But the internal motivation is way more important than anything you could ever do. It's not about your vision and what you think is important. You have to get him to buy in. And he wants it. I want to jump rope, Dad, because I want to make that 12U travel team. I want to play Division I shortstop. I don't want to play third. I don't want to play left field. I want to play shortstop. Well, this is the requirements. Then you align.
Everybody listening? Boom.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I want to be respectful of your guys' time. I know you have a lot going on there. We just kind of went over the hour. We do have some more questions. If you guys need to rush off here, I understand. If you got a little bit more time, we got some more questions coming in.
I'm fine. You good, Nate?
I got a few minutes.
Okay.
Great. So coming in here, let's see. Next one we got is Adam, and he says, can you show some proper glove position that makes heel less prominent? And does it include a slight turn to create more of a glove face?
Nate, you're
You
standing
go,
up.
Trent.
If you understand his question,
Okay.
I'm not sure I understand his
I do.
question. Okay.
I understand. What he's talking about is some guys talk about putting your glove more in the like the 7 o'clock position versus 6.
Right.
And I talk about it too. I talk about being 2 and 7 versus 12 and 6.
I got you.
But when you watch a big leaguer, and the reason why we always bring up big leaguers is, one, they're the best, but two, we have easy access to their pictures and their videos. If you watch a big leaguer, they're pretty much 12 and 6. But I like guys to think more 2 and 7. So when I have my guys setting up, they're slightly here because my elbows are a little more out. But you'll see guys here. You'll see a lot of guys 12-6, and you'll actually see some guys more in like the 2-8 range. Like Colton Wong, I work with Colton a little bit, spend the winters out in the Big Island, and get an opportunity to kind of see him work and just be a part of what he's doing a little bit. And watching Colton, he's almost on the side. He's almost like 3 and 9, which allows his elbows to be very free. So when I have guys set up, I have them go more 1 and 7. But when you watch, there's guys that are 12-6, 1-7. It can have to do also with your flexibility. Some guys can go 12 and 6 and still keep their elbows out. What we don't want is elbows in and stiff. So 1 and 7 is my teach, but I'm good with anything as long as it works. Some guys are more on the side. Some guys are more 12-6, and some guys are more 2-7. They say that this little pocket is more prominent when your glove is at a 7 versus a 6. The ball can roll out, sticks in this little corner. Well, is that true or not? I don't know. There's a lot of big leaguers. Look at a lot of still shots. Just go to Google and Google infielders. You'll see a lot of guys in the 12-6, but it's 12-6 usually to 1 and 7, and some guys get a little bit more sideways. So cocking the wrist, we tell our guys always wrist posture, wrist posture, wrist posture. Cock, backhand, neutral, forehand. I'm always cocking the wrist. If your wrist is not cocked, it's flat, you lose your whole surface. Just like a hitter, he cocks his wrist. It's basically an athletic movement. It's preparing to fire. It's preparing your hands now with a good surface to work your levers. This is a lever. This is a lever. We have 3 main levers. So we don't want this wrist to be stiff. We want it to be loose and easy. And we start with fingertips up, fingertips down. So I would keep it. I mean, that's where I'll go with that right now.
Right.
I don't know if Trent wants to say anything.
No, good. That's good.
Okay.
Another question.
Awesome. So we've got in here, do you guys think that JV and varsity should practice together at a high school program? I tend to think so, but curious what you guys think.
I got it. Yes and no. It really depends on what you're doing. Okay, so we teach team baseball as a program. We teach it as a program. If we're teaching base running, how to take leads, how to read pitchers, at every base and we're doing it as a program, top to bottom. If we're doing bunt defenses, first and thirds, rundowns, cutoff relays, pickoffs, we are teaching it as a program. Okay. A lot of times I will have my JV run bases for the varsity run bases for the JV. If the JV can get to a point where they can execute Team D against varsity players, they're in pretty good shape. As far as a traditional practice, if we're doing specialty work by position, we are going to be together, which means, so all the outfielders are in the outfield with my coaches. I have 1 or 2 outfield coaches. We're blessed at the high school program. I've had programs where, whoever you got. So you teach the foundational drills. We teach them in the fall. We teach all our foundational. My internet's bad. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
In and out a little bit.
Hello?
You're back. It sounds like you're back a little now. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, let me know if I pop out. So we're going to practice drill work together when we get into practice. The outfielders 9 through 12, infielders 9 through 12, catchers 9 through 12, and they're going through their drill sequences that we do in practice. But otherwise, no. BP, you know, we're going to split up a lot of times and alternate around based on varsity JV, because ultimately varsity is we're working towards winning on the varsity level, and there comes a point in time when JV actually brings us down because the speed of the game is too slow. So, you know, yes and no. So I think you have to strategically decide, and your facilities and your time are all going to dictate whether you work together or separate. But when you get huge numbers together, if you don't have a really good plan and they don't know what they're doing, you're going to have a bunch of standing around, which doesn't equal fun to me. So did I stay? Was I good, or did I lose? Did you lose me?
That was great.
There?
That was good.
Okay.
Yep.
No, that was great.
Anything, Nate, or we can do one more?
No, we could do one more. I got to get going here very soon.
Yeah,
last question.
We can do one more.
So Joseph here is asking, how do you guys feel about the biomechanics and technical analysis? It's so popular now for instructional and in facilities these days.
Okay, so let me jump in on this one. So my grandfather's the greatest rookie in the history of Major League Baseball. He made it to the big leagues at 20 years old. Cody Bellinger just broke his home run record that stood for over 60 years. My grandpa set the left-handed rookie home run record. He had 142 RBIs. He batted .330 with 36 home runs. It is a 20-year-old in the major leagues. It's the greatest rookie season in the history of the game. Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, you name it. Barry Bonds. Nobody's ever had those numbers. Ted Williams and him are top, right, neck and neck. I started to study the history of the game. I started to study my grandfather. My grandfather had no hitting coach at all. When he began hitting cross-handed because he had no coach. He lives on a farm in the middle of nowhere. There's no coach. His dad was a farmer. He loved baseball. He's hitting rocks with broken pitchfork handles, and he's hitting cross-handed. He's a right-hander hitting like a lefty. When he got drafted, he was still hitting cross-handed, hitting balls 400 plus feet. The Cleveland Indians, at the age of 16, he signed at 16, they made him a left-handed hitter. So they just said, no more right-handed cross-handing, Hal. You're going to become a lefty. He goes to the big leagues and becomes the greatest rookie in the history of the game. He didn't have one coach. He didn't have anybody. He had no video. He had no special equipment. He had no special coach. He had no cutting edge anything, nothing. The greatest of all time, Hank Aaron, the greatest power hitter of all time. What did Hank have? Nothing. He learned to hit with a broomstick and bottle caps, period. He learned feel, rhythm, timing, approach. He learned how to hit in the street, in the backyard, hitting with challenge reps. That's what the Dominicans do better than anybody. The high number of challenge reps. He's the greatest power hitter of all time. The most extra base hits, the most RBIs, the most total bases, the most home runs. Besides.
Uh-oh. He there?
He's back now.
Yes, he is off. Someone's trying to call me. He's off the charts. Then you go to the greatest hitter of all time. So you got the greatest rookie, no coach, nothing cutting edge. You got the greatest power hitter and maybe the greatest player of all time, Hank Aaron. Then you got the greatest hitter of all time, Pete Rose. How did Pete learn how to hit? His dad was a football coach. He taught him how to be on time. He taught him to keep his head down. He taught him to be hungry. Be aggressive, Pete. Be aggressive, Pete. And how did Pete learn how to hit? His dad's in the backyard trying to strike him out for hours as a kid, and teaching him how to focus and not waste at bats. Be focused, be on time, be on time, be on time. These are the three greatest hitters of all time. Of all time, nothing cutting edge. The Dominicans are arguably the best hitters in the game per capita. There's 11 to 12 million people in the Dominican Republic. How come they have so many people in the big leagues? I've been coaching the Dominican for over 15 years. We have an academy there. The Dominican hitting coach does not micromanage. He does not when you ask Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you say, what did your dad teach you? Because they were talking about on YouTube. He says, my dad teaches me how to get a good pitch and hit it, placata, hit it hard. It's the simplicity what makes a hitter a master, because now you can focus on what really matters, and that's the ball. And then you start to let your body organize with rhythm and timing. So we teach hitting. My belief strongly is all that stuff is problematic. Now, if you can use it properly, which is in limitations, very limited forms, you know what happens? You can hit, and it comes together. I was just with a professional hitter 2 days ago at the field. He's released. I said, why did you not make it? And he said, let me just tell you something. I thought it was about information. He goes, I tried to gather information. I thought everything lines up. He said, nothing lines up. And I'm sitting there with my two nephews. He was a guy that I trained since he was 9. He's 26 now. He played with the Mariners, and he was a 6th rounder. He goes, let me tell you something, guys. He's talking to my two nephews. He says, all this stuff that you're doing down here is crap. It doesn't even matter unless you get between the lines and you're the best competitor on the field. You can have the best swing. You can have the best air. You can have all this stuff. It means nothing. He says the guys that hit compete. They compete in the box, and they perfect imperfection, because you don't have to have a perfect swing to be a great hitter. The goal is to hit. The goal is not to have a perfect swing. Learn how to hit, and you learn how to hit by 1, getting your mind right, by 2, having a plan, by 3, being on time, and you learn by hitting. Challenge reps. Yesterday, hitting with my nephew, we hit curveballs, right-handed and left-handed, curveballs, sliders, fastballs. We hit for 2 hours. He's hitting. He's hitting like he's in a game. We go from fastball to curveball to fastball to curveball to right-handed curveball to left. We're constantly making it like a game, moving plates, changing timings. The ability to hit is the most difficult tool to find. And the reason is because we're not developing the hit tool. We're developing guys that have number. I can give you story after story. I can give you 2 stories of big leaguers right now that have come back and they said, you know what? They tried to transform my swing. The next year I come back and I can't hit. I can't hit. They got all these numbers. They got all these angles, but you can give Cabrera. Yelich was talking about yesterday, launch angle. What's all this nonsense? I swing down and I try to be short to the ball. I mean, it's endless. So learning how to hit is a whole nother story. And most coaches don't teach the hit tool. They teach technique. They teach a way to hit. That's not learning how to hit. I get excited. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So there's a lot of argument, right, on all this stuff. And, you know, you can find balance. I think the key is balance. You know, I believe Tim Hires, if he were on this call right now, the big league hitting coach for the Red Sox, in my opinion, the best hitting coach in the world, he would simply say, less is more. Okay, less is more. Do they give their players data? Of course they do. Of course they do. But if you're not careful, you know, you can have paralysis by analysis with a big leaguer. You know, it's a game, it's competition. Understanding the plan that the pitcher might use against you, sure. Do you pay attention in the dugout to see if that plan is being executed to others? Of course. Okay, that's part of being a big leaguer or a very good player. Should be happening at the high school level as well. But, you know, data from swing analysis and all that, you know, it has its place if you don't overkill it. You know, so many players are like these little robots, and they're just concerned with like exit velo and launch angle, how, you know, the angle the ball comes off the bat. That's what launch angle is. So they get overly concerned with that stuff. And I say, fine, you know, if you can hit, like Nate said, if you're a hitter, you know how to use your body to generate energy to be on time. You can barrel balls up to all fields. Awesome. You have the best exit speed velocity in the world, you know, great launch angle, and you can't hit in the game. What good is it? You know, what good is it? You know, so I'm not a guy that's, you know, I don't think Nate is either. It has its place. Obviously, it's important. Is it being used? Yes. Can you learn from it? Yes. But if it's your sole means of feedback, I mean, I learn more as a hitter from what worked and what didn't work. If I'm hitting off a tee and I'm working middle backside and I'm pulling balls on the ground to the pull side, there's a problem here. Okay. What am I doing that's causing this problem? And I learned to fix it. That's part of being your own coach. And we have all these little robots running around that all they want is data and information. And same thing with pitchers. You know, they just gave up 4 runs and 5 hits and walked 6 guys, but they run, hey, coach, you know, did I hit 90? What does it matter? Okay. What does it matter? Yeah, well, yeah, you throw hard. That's important as part of the equation. day, but we lose focus as to what is the game really about. It's about competing. It's about performance. So it's saying my connection is unstable. So I'm going to stop right there before I lose you. But so it has its place, but I don't think it's the sole answer to everything. I know that's a long answer. That's all I got.
I like to say, well, I think it's great. I like to just say one more thing. The main problem with data is this: there's not enough time to work on the things that really matter. Timing, pitch selection, hitting to all fields, all the different components, working on your game plan, learning how to get your mind right, having a routine, all the things that make a great hitter. There's not even enough time to work on that stuff that matters. That's the main thing. So what happens is we substitute because there's only so much time in a day. Every time you add something in your life, that means less of something else. And that's a major problem because hitters are not even focusing on quality routines, on training right now. And then they just start focusing on numbers. Last thing I want to say, I'm in the area code dugout this year. Brent Main is one of our dugout guys. He's a scout with I believe with the Padres. Brent played many, many years in the big league, and he's a big league catcher. He was with the Dodgers. And Brent, basically, we're talking. I said, Brent, this is my philosophy on hitting. What do you think? You're a major league catcher for many years with success. He says, everything you're saying, we talked basically what I'm talking about. He says, everything you're saying, I agree with 100%. Now, this is a major leaguer. He says, let me tell you something. My first 4 years in the big leagues, I was trying to do everything right. I'm trying to have the right swing. I'm trying to do this. He said, I'm sitting there watching Manny Ramirez, Mark McGuire. I'm watching all these great hitters. Albert Bell, that was his area. He's watching all these guys. And he goes, man, I look at them and I noticed, it took me like 4 years. I realized that they're not thinking about anything except the ball, period. The ball. Well, what happens is when you think about angles, you think about positions, you think about all that stuff, you lose sight on the one component that makes you a great hitter. See the ball well and hit it hard. And if you can keep it that simple, you know what happens? The body learns to organize itself. And he goes, you know what? After that 4th year, I started to do that. And I became a great major league hitter. And then I became a teammate with George Brett. And George says, the number one thing is just see the ball well. What does Albert Pujols say? I focus on nothing. In the cage, I work on some technique. I see the ball well. And the problem is when you start measuring, like Trent said, these guys come off the mound. They say, what was my spin rate? They're not even concerned when they gave up a 2-run home run. What's my spin rate, coach? How hard did I throw? The focus is gone, and that's a problem. There's not enough time, guys, to start implementing all this data. And the big leaguers can't stand it, by the way. They don't like it because they just want to hit. Hitters hit. Hitters great hit. Line from Big Trent. Tim Hires line right there.
Hey, amazing stuff, guys. I know you dropped a lot of knowledge here. We got a lot of great feedback. Nate, I dropped your podcast here in the link that you did with Warstick on Get Your Mind Right. That was one of the best I've heard on anything on the hitting piece and the middle approach. Y'all will get a lot out of that. He wasn't able to touch on that, but go check that one out as well. Also added in the chat, check it out before we go, the link to the Twitter for Trosky here on the wall bit on the 6 progression on the wall drill, and then Trosky Ranch for the lockdown infielder series. So a lot of information right there. Definitely want to thank both of you guys for staying extra, and to everybody who stayed on here as well to learn from these guys. I really want to give everybody a big thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody
for
taking the time to be with us. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep, thanks so much, everybody.
Nice job, and great job, brother. You do a great job. Appreciate you very much.
Oh, thank you. This is easy for me. I love being a part of this. So I'm really grateful to be here, guys. Thanks so much again. Be sure to give these guys a follow on Twitter, on social media. Pretty easy to find them. We found that we added that in there for you. So go reach out to them with anything and just soak up their knowledge, soak up that content. And until next time, guys, you know, the next one's already started. Go ahead, Nate.
I got one thing real quick. If you go to the Trosky Ranch, we have an infield footwork series too. And we have Series number 2 coming out this weekend. Series 1 came out 2 weeks ago. It's 12 plays of mastering footwork for infielders. It's what the best of the best do. If you want your 8-year-old, your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, your 20-year-old, your college player to take their footwork to another level, it's complete mastery of the feet, which doesn't exist out there. So Series 1 is on there right now at the Trosky Ranch. Series 2 comes out this weekend. Each series is 12 different plays. Series 3 will be out in 3 weeks. That's 36 complete plays that an infielder will make. 36 different plays with different routes, different first steps, and it'll change their game. Unbelievably reasonably priced with the blue collar lockdown. The blue collar lockdown is more about a complete training program. It's about your arm. It's about fielding, hitting. It's about everything. It's about quick feet. It's about run to. It's about all the tools. This is just simply footwork for infielders, period.
Yeah,
Love it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. My son's a Division I infielder, and it's amazing. Yeah.
I'm a pitching guy, and I'm gonna go ahead and get sign up for that one. So I'm really excited about that. Zach, you asked where the podcast link is. It's in the chat, but you can just look up Nate Trosky, Get Your Mind Right, and War Stick, and you'll find that one there. It's episode number 4.
We're gonna give out 2 right now. Let's give out a free blue collar lockdown, and let's give out an infield footwork series. If you can take care of that, and we'll send them a code. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you want to do that right now with somebody, or however you want to do that, Kyle. We'd be happy
so
to give,
let's do this. I'm going to add in my email here in the chat, and everybody that's on the call here that stayed in, I've got a list of everybody that was in. So I'll go in and get a list of that, and I want to make sure that it's fair for everybody. So we'll put it out on Twitter, and I'll get the code here from Nate. So that's an amazing offer there, Coach. Thank you for being able to share that with them.
And the last thing, please send us a takeaway from today. Tag us on Twitter. Tag us. Great learners just don't think about it. They write it down, they talk about it, and they go back. We want to dialogue with you. So, hey, man, I really appreciated what you said about that. That helps us, too, is knowing what's impactful so that we can be better at what we do, but we want to make you better, too. So any takeaway that you feel that you're going to apply at Trosky Baseball, the other one's at Trent Mongero. Trent, is that yours? The name of yours?
Coach Mongero. Yeah. At
Coach
Mongero. Yeah.
Tag us. Say this was valuable. Thank you. And be specific. This is what made a difference from the talk today, and I'm going to utilize this. Or you might even have another question, and we'll do our best to help answer that. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you guys so much.
Trent.
So check in on that email at kyle@coachtube.com. Shoot me an email following up with that. You can also tweet us at Baseball Clinics on Twitter. And as well, we got both Coach Mongero and at Trosky Baseball there as well. So thanks again so much, everybody. And thank you, Nate. Thank you, Trent, so much. A lot of love there. So much great feedback from everybody here. Big love all the way around.
All right, buddy.
Next time, everybody. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.